Welcome back to Broken Electronics. My name is Lee, and it's really great to have you spend some time here today. Before going any further, I would like to put to rest a possible rumor that could be going around. I am not intending on rebranding this channel. In other words, changing the name, Broken Electronics. I like it. So I am not going to be changing it to what can I put in the G5 today. Although recently it seemed that way, hasn't it? Well, I haven't got that out of the way. Today's video is going to be about putting something in the G5. This generated from a very kind viewer comment and suggestion, XTACDK, who had suggested both putting in an IDE Blu-ray disc drive, replacing the existing DVD drive. I'm working on that one. I'm thinking about it anyway. The only IDE Blu-ray drives I've been able to find have been running about $200, and that, quite frankly, seems like kind of a lot. But XTAC's other suggestion intrigued me greatly. Obviously, USB 3 was not successful, nor did I really think it was going to be. It was just something to try for the heck of it. But he suggested eSATA. So yeah, I went out and obtained a 2-port eSATA PCIe card, and we're going to try putting this guy in there today. Now, here's the thing. I have no real hands-on experience with eSATA. With more modern Macs, it's always been USB 3, a little newer than that, perhaps Thunderbolt, and its various incarnations. With the PowerPC Macs, FireWire has been the way to go. And I've known pretty well what to expect. For instance, when I was trying to put the USB 3 cards in, I was pretty darn sure it was not going to work. On the other hand, when I put the FireWire 800 card in, I was pretty darn sure it was going to work, because I've done that before. With eSATA, I'm not sure what to expect. It certainly should work, given that eSATA was around when this machine was a thing. So I would expect drivers to be there in Leopard. If not, hopefully we can find them without great issue. So what are we then going to do with eSATA? Well, there are two things. First of all, can you see it? Yes, you see sitting on top of the G5 now is a 2 terabyte backup drive, currently connected via the built-in FireWire 800 port. It can also connect via eSATA. So that's one thing to do immediately. Simply plug the backup drive in via eSATA, which should give faster backups and, if necessary, faster restores, and free up the built-in FireWire port in the bargain. And we would have one additional eSATA port for the possibility of other external drives. So I obtained an eSATA enclosure, into which I have already put a 512 gig solid state drive. Now, I have very little hands-on. I have no hands-on experience with eSATA. I am pretty sure that, assuming the drivers are there, the backup drive will work because it's self-powered. It has external power. With FireWire drives, particularly daisy chain, with USB 3 on newer Macs, where the card itself has only bus power. There's sometimes been an issue about getting drives recognized, and most of the external drives that I've got have the possibility of external power for them, so it hasn't been too big a deal. I noticed with this enclosure, it does not. You cannot power this except by bus power. So, is this going to work? I have no idea. But of course, there's only one way to find out. So if you want to find out with me, please stay tuned. Well, it would seem that things are never quite as easy as they ought to be. In order to actually get this to work, I had to take the FireWire card out and put the eSATA card in the slot right above the dual slot graphics card. Then I was able to get the FireWire drive back into place. So this may actually end up being just as well. But they are both in now. Whether they'll both be recognized, we'll have to find out, of course. All right. Now, I wanted to correct something that I had said in an earlier video about it being a pain to get the optical drives out. It's actually quite simple. You've got two latches, and then it pretty much slides right out. So, if I do, in fact, do the Blu-ray disc upgrade, and I'm very likely to, because if I can do something, I tend to actually just go ahead and do it. It'll be pretty easy to get this out. And if I do that, I've also found that, yes, it is possible to get an SSD in a FireWire enclosure up into this empty area above the optical drive. Now, in order to actually get it in there, you do have to do it with the optical drive removed. So if I am at the point of wanting to give that a shot, you know, I may very well take advantage of that. Where is it here? That internal FireWire port. But that's for the future. So yeah, we may get to putting more stuff into the G5 later on. All right, well, I've got to put this all back together and boot it up, and we shall see if it works. So please, stay tuned. Well, I'm sure you're all by now thoroughly tired of video of watching my G5 boot up, but we're going to make you endure that. There's the chime. At least this one more time. And it does take a while for the old Apple Cinema display to kick in here with this adapter. It's unfortunate that the power button on the Cinema display will not turn the machine on with the adapter, but as it is. I had this thing so nicely framed. Okay, there's our video. There's our logo. And there shouldn't have been a problem with all of this, of course. And here we are. And we can see immediately that the backup drive, it's an OWC Mercury Elite Aluminum Pro. It's an enclosure with a 2 terabyte spinning hard drive in it. That's right there. So obvious, and I did in fact plug it in via eSATA, so we do have eSATA. All right, about this Mac. More info. It's go straight to PCIe cards. Okay, yep, the Quadro had better be there since that's why we're seeing anything. We're seeing the PCI bridge, yeah, slot 4. That in fact is the FireWire card, so that's being recognized. And HCI controller in slot 3. That's the eSATA. Now these other things, the 2 gigabit Ethernet ports built in are in fact on PCI buses, as is one of these FireWire cards. It's a FireWire 400, evidently. That's one or both of the built-in FireWires. All right. So everything has drivers installed. Everything is good to go. Now, looking into FireWire, well, nothing's plugged into the FireWire. Well, this unknown device is in fact, I do have cards plugged into these things. Okay, oh yeah, unknown device up to 400 megabits per second. All right, and 800 megabits per second. So yeah, so that would be the built-in, that would be the PCIe. All right, and looking under serial ATA, okay, there's the Mercury Elector 3G, that is the boot drive. This is the hard drive that's in there. And this, in fact, is the backup drive. So, yeah, it is, in fact, showing on the serial ATA as well. I am imagining this is because I plugged in a cord to that. Because one thing, of course, that we want to test so I just plugged in the we're not getting anything. Yeah, I just plugged in the enclosure with that drive in it. We're not getting anything. All right, let's and yeah, disk utility. These are the 3 partitions on the 1 terabyte SSD. There's Tiger install, Leopard install, and then one for data for both of them. This is the DVD drive. This is the 500 gigabyte hard drive, and this here, of course, as an external drive, that is the OWC backup drive, and we don't see that. Now, that doesn't really surprise me, that enclosure isn't coming up. I think what that tells us is that this card is not providing power, at least not sufficient power. The backup drive is self-powered, and I've got that plugged in. Now, I do have an enclosure coming, hopefully should be here tomorrow, that should give eSATA with the ability to plug it in to an external power source. That should work. So, in order to go on with this video, I'm going to have to wait for that. Now, for you, of course, it will be less than a second, thanks to the magic of video. So, yeah, what I will be doing in the interim there is to find I think something in the area of a 1 gigabyte file to use as a test, and we will be seeing speed tests, copying of that 1 gigabyte file to and from the eSATA SSD, once I get the proper enclosure for that, FireWire, see if in fact the built-in FireWire and the PCIe FireWire are delivering the same speeds. That will be interesting. And we may just for the heck of it compare it with the FireWire 400 that's built in and the USB 2, which will just be for giggles, so you shouldn't be able to keep up. Okay, so I'm going to have to wait for that to happen. However, for you, all you will need to do is stay tuned. All right, we are back. 1 day has passed in real time, in the split-second view, of course. Now, what I've got here in this folder is a test file. It's actually a video file about this computer. It is just slightly over 1 gigabyte. So we're going to be copying that over to the same drive in various kinds of connections. For the record, I copied it onto a different drive from my Mac Pro. Using USB 3, it took 5.8 seconds to copy the 1 gigabyte file in the folder. I then put it here on the Power Mac desktop. It took 13.3 seconds over FireWire 800. Now, that is a different drive, so we're going to try to do tests now copying onto the same drive. But first of all, we're going to have to plug this in. And the power cord, it's a pretty reasonable thing here. You can just plug the power cord into one of the USB ports on the computer itself. And this is exactly what we expected. The drive does need to be formatted. It was unformatted. All right. So, and this is it. Okay. All right. This shouldn't take long at all. And there we go. Now it's mounted. It has a name of SP. It is a Silicon Power 2.5-inch SATA SSD. All right. Now, give me 1 second here to get the clock ready. And we will drop it onto the drive starting now. .6 seconds. Now that is slower than USB 3, but it is faster than FireWire. Now, again, that was not a direct comparison. So, we will now do that. What I need to do now, in order to continue with this testing, I do want to check the 2 different FireWire connections we have available. The built-in FireWire and the PCIe card FireWire. In order to make it as direct as possible a comparison, I will need to transfer this SSD from this eSATA enclosure into a FireWire enclosure. So I will be back with you once that's done. Please stay tuned. All right. The drive is now in the FireWire enclosure. It is now connected via the PCIe FireWire port. So, let's run the test. just under 18.5 seconds. Okay, just to clean up. Okay. Now we want to see let that mount up. There we go. Now we're now connected via the built-in FireWire. Let me reset the timer. Oops, sorry about that. And go. Huh. 2103. 2203. That's a little surprising. Okay. I want to run that test again. Oops, yeah. Okay. That was the built-in FireWire. Let's let it mount up on the okay. Reset. And go again. .5 again. Okay. So, yeah, the reason I did that again, and it was exactly the same both times, it surprised me in that the PCIe FireWire 800 port is close to 4 seconds faster than the built-in port. How about that? Now, of course, the eSATA coming in at 8.6 seconds clearly smokes both of those. So, yeah, eSATA is going to be a great contribution here. All right, what I'm going to do is run a couple of more tests. I will do them off camera, but just to see what the results would be with FireWire 400 and with USB 2. So I'll come back and sum this all up. So please stay tuned. Well, we have our results in, which largely went as expected, but one rather big surprise to me. Now, the champion, admittedly, this was on the Mac Pro and using a different drive, but I did have to copy this file over to the Power Mac. So on the Mac Pro, USB 3 copied the slightly over 1 gigabyte file in 5.8 seconds. That's the clear speed winner. In the second position, though, is eSATA at 8.6. Okay, that's not quite 3 seconds longer, And if we transfer this to, potentially a much larger amount of data, that would mount up. But clearly, this is a very, very viable alternative. So we have now a very high speed connection to this venerable late 2005 Power Mac. All right, now to get the rest of it, the big surprise is that FireWire 800 on the PCIe card, 18.5 seconds. The built-in FireWire, 22.3. That to me was quite a surprise. I had expected, if anything, it would be the other way around, or that it would be pretty much equivalent. So that is very interesting to know there's an upgrade there too. Now again, not a huge time difference, but if we go 10, 20 times the amount of data, again, it mounts up. All right, and just for completion's sake, I ran the test on FireWire 400, that's one of the built-in ports, 31.9 seconds, virtually 32 seconds. That not a bad speed actually, particularly when you consider that USB 2. Now remember, this is all done, except the initial USB 3 test. This is all done, same machine, same drive, different connections. USB 2 was 50.3 seconds, over 50 seconds. FireWire 400 is not twice as fast as that, but a lot faster. So don't put down FireWire 400. And clearly FireWire 800, well over twice as fast. Okay, so that's the results. Well, I am obviously very, very satisfied with how these tests have turned out and how these upgrades have gone. The FireWire 800 upgrade, a very worthy one. The eSATA blows me away, and that has turned out so well. And we have 2 ports for eSATA, one of which is connecting my backup drive, and the other will be there for use with this. And I would state first of all, the first enclosure that I got does in fact have power. It's a combined USB 2 and eSATA enclosure. When I looked carefully at the USB 2 cord that was provided, I noticed that it was a dual prong. There is one on there that is just for power, so you can in fact connect the drive via eSATA for data using power from the USB. You can use USB power from anything. You can get USB power from the USB 2 ports on the machine. You can get the USB power from a separate wall charger, such as you'd use for an iPhone, or anything like that. But this new enclosure is going to be a keeper. You can see that there it is a Nexstar, Nexstar. I got this for about $25, I think, through Amazon. And that's the keeper. So I'm going to put this 512 gigabyte drive into this enclosure and close it up and screw it, and that's going to be my primary way of transferring files from other machines, particularly my Mac Pro, to this machine. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this look into what we can do to upgrade and improve a 15-year-old and counting machine for use here in 2020. So, I guess we wrap up the video. Be good to other people. We all deserve to have someone be good to us, I think. Be good to yourselves. I think you've got to start with yourself in that. Take very, very good and careful care in these most difficult times. We'll be back with you very soon with more videos. And until that time, this has been Broken Electronics.